Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Albert Einstein. This video reached you because your awareness is shifting. Out of billions of choices, you landed here for a reason. Ever felt moments that seemed too perfectly timed to be random? Stay tuned. What you're sensing is the beginning of quantum consciousness revealing itself to you. Have you ever stopped and wondered why out of billions of videos on the internet, you stumbled onto this one? Not by accident, not by coincidence, but in a way that feels strangely timed, almost as if the universe wanted you to be here right now. That feeling, that tug of why me, why now, is what we call synchronicity. It's more than just a coincidence, it's a signal, a cosmic wink reminding you that your awareness is already tuned into something larger than yourself. Synchronicity works like a hidden pattern, aligning events and encounters so that you receive exactly the message you need at the right moment. For example, think about the times you've thought of someone only for them to call you minutes later, or when a specific number keeps showing up on clocks, receipts, or license plates just when you're asking for clarity. These moments feel personal, almost designed, because they're your consciousness brushing against the fabric of a greater reality. So why is this video part of your synchronicity right now? Because your inner self, the part of you that already knows more than the rational mind, guided you here. You might think you clicked this video randomly, but your curiosity, your need for answers, and your hunger for growth are the invisible threads pulling you closer to what you're meant to uncover. In that sense, you didn't just find this video, it found you. This is how awakening often begins, not with a grand event, but with subtle alignments that make you pause and pay attention. They remind you that you're connected to something intelligent and responsive, a field that hears your unspoken questions and answers them through experiences, signs, and sometimes through words on a screen. That's what's happening right now. What makes synchronicity powerful is that it also acts as confirmation. It's a way of the universe saying, yes, you're on the right path. Yes, keep going. For some, seeing this video might validate the questions they've been secretly wrestling with, questions about meaning, about energy, about what's real. For others, it might be the first breadcrumb in a trail that leads to profound transformation. Either way, synchronicity is never wasted. It always points you forward. Recognizing it, however, requires trust. You don't need to overanalyze every detail, but you can practice being present and open when patterns appear. Treat synchronicities as invitations. When they show up, ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? Where is it nudging me to look deeper? By shifting from doubt to curiosity, you turn everyday coincidences into stepping stones toward awareness. So here's the truth. If you're here, it's because you're ready, not in some vague or abstract way, but in a very real, very personal sense. Something within you has already cracked open, and this moment is your confirmation. This is not about luck or chance, it's about alignment. And right now, you are aligned with the next stage of your own consciousness. When you hear the phrase quantum consciousness, it might sound like something out of a science textbook or a spiritual workshop. The truth is, it's both, and neither at the same time. It's a concept that bridges the language of physics with the language of the soul, showing us that consciousness is far more than thoughts in the brain. It's a field, a presence, a force that shapes reality itself. At the simplest level, consciousness is your awareness, the ability to notice, to observe, to be present. But quantum consciousness goes deeper. It's not just about being awake in the ordinary sense. It's about realizing that your awareness is connected to the very structure of the universe. In physics, quantum mechanics shows us that particles don't behave like solid, predictable objects. They exist as possibilities, probabilities, until they are observed. And the act of observation, conscious attention, collapses those probabilities into reality. That's where science meets spirit, the idea that your awareness isn't passive, it actively shapes what unfolds. Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed that when you expect something to go wrong, it often does? Or when you focus on gratitude, opportunities and people seem to appear out of nowhere? That's not just positive thinking, it's quantum consciousness at work. Your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs don't just stay locked in your mind. They ripple outward into the field of reality, influencing what comes back to you. What makes quantum consciousness different from everyday awareness is that it's multidimensional. In ordinary consciousness, you see life as linear, past, present, future. But in quantum consciousness, you start to perceive that all moments exist simultaneously, and your awareness can tune into them like changing a radio frequency. That's why déjà vu feels so real, or why you sometimes dream of something before it happens. Your consciousness isn't bound by the clock. It's tapping into the quantum field where time and space bend. Here's the empowering part. Quantum consciousness shows you that you are not separate from the universe. You're not just a bystander watching life happen. You are part of the equation, inseparable from the fabric of reality. The field responds to you, and you respond to it in an endless dance of creation. This means your inner world, your mindset, your energy, your beliefs, matters more than you've ever been told. And it's not limited to mystical experiences. You can live quantum consciousness in the most practical ways, by noticing how your focus changes your mood, by observing how certain people either uplift or drain you, by paying attention to how your body reacts when you're aligned versus when you're out of sync. These are everyday windows into the deeper truth that you are a co-creator with reality itself. So when we talk about unlocking quantum consciousness, it's not about gaining something new. It's about remembering something you've always had. The key is already inside you. Watching this video, reflecting on these ideas, that's you turning the lock and opening the door to a much bigger version of yourself. One of the most fascinating discoveries in modern science is something called the observer effect. It began in physics experiments where scientists noticed that particles behaved differently depending on whether they were being observed. In other words, the simple act of looking seemed to change the outcome. That sounds bizarre, almost magical, but it's real. And once you understand it, you'll never see your own awareness the same way again. In quantum experiments, particles don't exist as solid, fixed things until they're measured. They float in a cloud of possibilities, and only when someone observes them do they collapse into a definite state. This isn't just a scientific curiosity, it's a window into how life itself works. Your attention isn't passive, it actively influences what you experience. Think about your own life. Have you noticed how what you focus on tends to grow? If you constantly watch for problems, you'll spot them everywhere. If you deliberately look for beauty, suddenly the smallest details, a sunset, a kind gesture, a quiet moment, start to stand out. That's the observer effect in action on a personal level. Your consciousness is not just reflecting reality, it's shaping the version of reality you encounter. The tricky part is that this effect works whether or not you're aware of it. When you give attention to worry, fear, or lack, you unintentionally collapse reality into more situations that confirm those feelings. That's why people often feel stuck in cycles. They keep observing the same patterns and unknowingly reinforcing them. The good news, once you become conscious of this, you can redirect your observation. You can choose to collapse reality into possibilities that empower you instead of drain you. Imagine walking into a crowded room. One person notices the tension, another notices the laughter, and another notices the decorations. Same room, same moment, but three entirely different realities created by three observers. Each experience is valid, but it's shaped by what the observer chooses, consciously or unconsciously, to notice. Now stretch that idea out to your whole life. What are you choosing to observe? This is where quantum consciousness becomes practical. You don't have to control everything outside of you. You only need to direct your awareness with intention. By focusing on what you want to grow, peace, creativity, opportunity, you begin collapsing reality into experiences that mirror those choices. That's not wishful thinking. It's harnessing the same principle that makes particles line up differently under observation. The observer effect teaches you a simple but life-changing truth. Your focus is power. You're not just a passenger on this ride, you're co-piloting through what you choose to see. And every moment, you're holding the steering wheel of observation, deciding which version of reality you step into. So the question becomes, where will you place your focus? Because the moment you choose, reality shifts to meet you. If you've ever walked into a room and instantly felt the mood, without anyone saying a word, you've already experienced energy resonance. Science tells us that everything is vibration. From the tiniest atom to the largest galaxy, all matter hums with frequency. But here's the fascinating part: your emotions, thoughts, and even your overall state of being carry vibrations too. And just like a tuning fork will vibrate in harmony when struck near another of the same frequency, your life resonates with whatever you're tuned to. Think of it this way: When you're angry or fearful, your body contracts. You might feel heavy, tense, or drained. That's a low-frequency state. But when you're joyful, grateful, or inspired, your body feels light, expansive, and alive. That's a higher frequency. Neither is good or bad in a moral sense. They're simply different energetic states. The key is to recognize how your vibration attracts experiences that mirror it. Low vibration tends to magnetize more chaos and struggle, while high vibration tends to align you with synchronicities, clarity, and flow. Practical examples make this crystal clear. Have you noticed how negativity seems contagious? Spend time around someone who constantly complains, and soon you feel heavy too. But sit with someone who radiates calm confidence, and you leave feeling lifted. That's resonance. Your energy field naturally syncs with what surrounds it, which is why your environment and the people you let into your circle matter so much. The good news is, you're not powerless in this equation. You can consciously raise your vibration and shift resonance. Simple practices like deep breathing, listening to uplifting music, moving your body, or practicing gratitude immediately shift your state. Gratitude, in particular, is like a frequency booster. It moves you out of scarcity into abundance, out of fear into appreciation. Even focusing on one small thing you're grateful for begins to change the resonance you're broadcasting. And here's the deeper truth. Raising your vibration isn't about forcing positivity or denying challenges. It's about tuning yourself in a way that allows solutions, creativity, and alignment to flow in. When you're in a higher vibrational state, you're more receptive to intuition, synchronicity, and opportunities that match that frequency. In other words, your inner state becomes the magnet for your outer world. Imagine your life like a radio. You can't tune to a station of peace and hear chaos, just as you can't tune to chaos and hear peace. The dial is your focus, your emotional awareness, your willingness to choose a state that uplifts instead of drags you down. Every time you adjust your inner frequency, you realign with realities that resonate with it. So ask yourself, what frequency are you broadcasting right now? Because the universe is always listening and always responding. Most of us are taught to see time as a straight line, past behind us, present where we stand, and future stretching out ahead. But quantum consciousness reveals something far more intriguing. Time is not linear. Instead, it's layered, flexible, and interconnected, more like a vast ocean than a rigid timeline. Once you begin to grasp this, the way you view your past, present, and future transforms completely. Physics already hints at this. Einstein's theory of relativity showed that time bends depending on speed and gravity. Astronauts orbiting the Earth experience time slightly differently than people on the ground. This means time is not absolute, it's relative, fluid. Mystical traditions have said the same for centuries, describing time as an illusion of human perception. Put the two together, and you get a profound insight. The flow of time is not fixed, and neither are you. Consider déjà vu. That strange feeling that you've lived a moment before isn't random. It's a glimpse across layers of time, a reminder that your consciousness can touch more than just the now you're used to. Similarly, when you recall a vivid memory, you're not just looking back, you're re-entering the emotional and energetic imprint of that moment. And when you imagine your future with clarity, you're actually planting seeds in the field of possibility, aligning yourself with the version of you who already exists in that timeline. Here's the empowering part. By shifting your awareness in the present, you can influence both past and future. For example, many people heal their past by revisiting painful memories with compassion. In doing so, they change how that memory shapes their identity now. Others create their future by rehearsing it mentally, athletes visualizing the perfect performance, entrepreneurs envisioning success, or ordinary people imagining healthier, happier versions of themselves. In the quantum field, these acts aren't daydreams, they're real adjustments of possibility. What does this mean for you? It means you are not trapped by the clock. You are not simply walking a straight road where the past dictates your future. Instead, you are standing at the center of an infinite web of possibilities. Each choice, each focus, each vibration tunes you to a different strand of that web. The future you isn't waiting years ahead. It's already alive in another layer, and your awareness is what bridges the gap. Imagine time as a spiral rather than a line. Each loop brings familiar themes, but at higher levels of growth. You might face similar challenges, but each time you meet them, you have more wisdom, more tools, more awareness. That's not repetition, it's evolution. So when you feel stuck, remind yourself, time is not a prison, it's a playground, and with awareness, you can step out of old cycles and into new timelines. Right here, right now, you hold the key. Your mind doesn't only think in words. Deep down, it speaks a more ancient and universal language, the language of symbols and archetypes. This is the language of dreams, myths, art, and intuition, the imagery that bypasses logic and speaks straight to your subconscious. And once you begin to understand it, you'll realize that the universe has been communicating with you all along. Psychologist Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, a shared library of images and patterns that every human being carries. That's why cultures separated by oceans still tell stories of the hero, the wise old guide, the shadow, and the great mother. These archetypes are not random. They're templates of human experience, appearing again and again because they resonate with something fundamental in our psyche. Symbols operate the same way. Think about the circle. In every culture, it represents wholeness, eternity, or the cycle of life. The serpent, whether feared or revered, is tied to transformation and rebirth. Even numbers carry symbolic resonance, like 3 symbolizing balance or completion. These patterns cross time and geography because they're not just cultural, they're energetic. They stir something deep inside us, something we instinctively recognize. So how does this connect to quantum consciousness? Because your subconscious, the part of your mind that speaks in symbols, is deeply connected to the quantum field. When you dream of falling, it's not just a random firing of neurons. It may be your inner self showing you where you feel out of control. When you keep seeing a feather, a butterfly, or a repeating number, it may be the field nudging you toward awareness, using imagery your soul understands better than words. In daily life, these symbols can act as guideposts. Let's say you've been wrestling with a decision, and suddenly you start seeing doors everywhere, in ads, in conversations, even in your dreams. That could be your subconscious showing you the archetype of transition, the door as an entryway into a new phase. Or maybe you're in a season of struggle and you keep noticing phoenix images or references to fire. That's the archetype of death and rebirth, reminding you that endings are also beginnings. The key is to stay curious instead of dismissive. Instead of thinking, that's just coincidence, ask, what is this symbol trying to tell me? You don't need to become an expert in mythology to do this. You simply need to listen to your own inner associations. A rose might mean love to you, but courage to someone else. What matters is the personal resonance, because that's how your subconscious delivers the message. By paying attention to symbols and archetypes, you begin to live in dialogue with the universe instead of feeling like a silent observer. You realize that life itself is a kind of dream, rich with metaphor, constantly offering hints about your path. And when you start to decode that language, you stop feeling lost and start feeling guided. Every decision you make doesn't just shape your path, it branches reality itself. This idea, often called the many worlds interpretation in quantum physics, suggests that countless versions of reality exist side by side. Each time you choose, you step into one branch while countless other versions unfold in parallel. At first, it may sound like science fiction, but it carries a deeply practical lesson. Your choices matter far more than you think. Imagine standing at a crossroads. On one path, you choose to take a chance, apply for that opportunity, say yes to a relationship, or move to a new city. On the other, you choose to play it safe and stay where you are. Both paths exist as possibilities. In one version of reality, you live the adventure. In another, you remain in the familiar. Which one you experience depends on the choice you observe and embody. This isn't just about big life decisions either. Every small action shifts you onto a slightly different track. The choice to speak kindly rather than harshly creates a different ripple in reality. The choice to meditate instead of scrolling your phone shifts your awareness into a calmer, clearer timeline. Over time, these small shifts add up, leading you to vastly different versions of yourself. Here's the empowering part. Missed opportunities are not truly lost. They continue to exist in parallel realities, lived out by versions of you that made different choices. That doesn't mean you need to regret or chase them. Instead, it means you can trust that possibility is always abundant. At any moment, you can choose again and step into a new path. Life is less like a single straight road and more like a web of doorways, always waiting for you to decide which one to walk through. This also explains why people sometimes feel like they've shifted realities. Have you ever made a choice and suddenly felt like your whole life looked different? New people, new opportunities, new challenges arriving almost instantly. That's the sensation of moving into a new branch. It feels sudden, but in truth, you were aligning with it all along through your decisions, thoughts, and energy. What does this mean for you right now? It means the future is not fixed. You are not trapped by past choices or circumstances. Every moment offers a fresh opening to shift into a timeline that better reflects your highest self. The key is conscious choice, paying attention to how each decision resonates with the reality you wish to experience. So, the next time you face a decision, big or small, remember this: you're not just choosing what to do, you're choosing which version of reality you want to live. And in that sense, every choice is a doorway to a new world. If you really want to understand why your life looks the way it does, start by looking at your beliefs. Beliefs are not just ideas you hold in your mind. They are filters that shape how you see the world, how you interpret experiences, and ultimately, what you allow yourself to receive. They are the invisible architects of your reality. Think about it: two people can go through the exact same event and walk away with completely different conclusions. One person sees failure as proof they're not good enough. Another sees it as feedback and a stepping stone to growth. The difference isn't the event, it's the belief system interpreting it. This is how powerful your inner framework is. It tells you what's possible, what's safe, and what's worth pursuing long before reality has a chance to prove you right or wrong. Beliefs also have a way of becoming self-fulfilling prophecies. If you believe people can't be trusted, you'll unconsciously notice every betrayal and ignore every act of kindness, reinforcing your distrust. If you believe opportunities always find you, you'll naturally be open, alert, and receptive, which makes opportunities more likely to appear. The mind loves to confirm what it already assumes, which is why your beliefs are not passive, they're active creators. The tricky part is that most of your core beliefs weren't chosen by you. They were inherited, passed down by parents, teachers, culture, and even the society you grew up in. You didn't sit down one day and decide what to believe about love, money, or success. Those patterns were programmed into you when you were too young to question them. The result is that many of us live inside belief systems that don't truly belong to us. The good news: beliefs can be rewritten. Your brain is not a fixed machine. It's plastic, adaptable, capable of change. The moment you begin to notice a limiting belief, like "I'll never be successful" or "I'm not worthy of love," you've already weakened its hold. Awareness is the first step, because you can't change what you don't see. From there, you can begin to consciously replace old patterns with new ones. Affirmations, visualizations, journaling, and surrounding yourself with people who live the kind of truths you want to embody. Here's a simple example. Imagine someone who grew up believing money is scarce and hard to earn. They work hard, but their belief keeps them in constant struggle. The moment they shift that belief to "money flows when I create value," their actions, creativity, and opportunities begin to align with that new truth. Reality responds not because money magically appears, but because their inner lens now allows them to see and act differently. Your beliefs are not cages unless you let them be. They are tools, and tools can be reshaped. The moment you take ownership of them, you stop living someone else's script and start writing your own. Most people think of emotions as things that just happen to them, waves that crash in without warning, leaving them at the mercy of anger, fear, sadness, or joy. But what if emotions are not random accidents? What if they are energy in motion, raw material you can transform, like an alchemist turning lead into gold? That's the essence of emotional alchemy, learning to use your emotional energy not as a burden, but as fuel for growth. Start with fear. On the surface, fear feels heavy and paralyzing, but dig deeper and you'll notice that fear is often a signal. It points to what matters most. The fear of failure means you care about succeeding. The fear of rejection means connection is deeply important to you. When you face fear instead of avoiding it, you reclaim the energy trapped within it, turning it into courage. The same is true for pain. Pain is never pleasant, but it carries wisdom. Think of heartbreak. While it shatters illusions, it also sharpens clarity about what you truly value in love. Think of grief. It may hollow you out, but in that space it can also awaken compassion, reminding you how precious life is. Alchemy doesn't deny the heaviness, it honors it, and then transforms it into insight, empathy, and resilience. The reason many people stay stuck in cycles of suffering is not because of the emotions themselves, but because of suppression. We're taught to push uncomfortable feelings away, to bottle them up, or to distract ourselves until they fade. But unprocessed emotions don't disappear. They linger in the body, weighing us down. Emotional alchemy invites you to feel fully, without judgment, and in doing so, to release and transform. Practical tools make this more than theory. Journaling allows you to pour raw emotion onto the page, shifting it from chaos in your mind to clarity in words. Breathwork moves emotional energy through the body, often releasing years of tension in minutes. Shadow work, acknowledging the parts of yourself you usually hide, brings suppressed emotions into the light where they can heal. These practices don't erase emotions, they refine them, just as fire refines metal. Here's the empowering truth: emotions are messengers, not enemies. Anger can ignite action when channeled with wisdom. Sadness can deepen connection and authenticity. Even shame, when faced, can transform into humility and strength. The alchemist doesn't reject the raw material, he works with it, knowing it holds the key to transformation. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, try asking, what is this emotion trying to teach me? What energy is hidden here that I can reclaim? That shift in perspective turns suffering into a doorway. And through that doorway, you step not into avoidance, but into power. Logic is a powerful tool, but it has limits. It can only calculate based on what you already know. Intuition, on the other hand, taps into a field much bigger than your conscious mind. It's like having a built-in GPS that senses possibilities before your rational mind catches up. And when you learn to trust it, intuition becomes one of the most reliable guides on your path. Think about the times you've had a gut feeling that turned out to be right. Maybe you felt uneasy about a situation before anything obvious was wrong, or you just knew you should call someone only to discover they needed you at that exact moment. That wasn't luck. That was your intuition pulling information from the quantum field, connecting dots your logical brain couldn't see yet. Here's the difference: logic works in steps, but intuition works in leaps. Logic needs evidence, but intuition senses the energy behind the evidence. It's like walking into a room where everyone is smiling but feeling the tension underneath. Your mind might say, everything looks fine, but your intuition whispers, something off. And more often than not, the whisper proves correct. So how do you tell intuition apart from fear or overthinking? True intuition feels calm and clear, like a gentle nudge. It doesn't shout or panic, it simply points. Fear, on the other hand, feels loud, anxious, and heavy. Intuition often comes quickly and quietly before your mind has time to second-guess it. If you catch yourself thinking, "I knew it," after the fact, that was probably intuition you didn't follow. Strengthening your intuition is like training a muscle. The more you use it, the sharper it gets. Simple practices help. Meditation quiets the mental noise so you can hear subtle nudges. Spending time in nature resets your inner compass. Even small experiments, like choosing based on your first instinct instead of overanalyzing, build trust. The more you honor intuition in small ways, the more it shows up in big ones. Intuition is also deeply practical. It can guide you toward the right relationships, warn you away from harmful situations, and help you seize opportunities that logic might dismiss. Many of the world's most successful people, from artists to entrepreneurs, credit their biggest breakthroughs to a gut feeling they chose to follow. That's not coincidence, it's quantum awareness at work. Think of your intuition as a compass connected to the wider field of consciousness. It won't always give you the full map, but it will point you in the right direction. And if you're willing to trust it, you'll often find that the path unfolds just as you need it to, step by step, with perfect timing. So ask yourself, what is your inner GPS telling you right now? And more importantly, are you willing to listen? Every night without effort, you step into other worlds. Dreams are not just random flickers of your brain, they're windows into deeper layers of consciousness, a bridge between the personal mind and the vast quantum field. When you dream, you enter a state where logic loosens its grip and symbols, emotions, and archetypes rise to the surface. In this space, your subconscious and higher self can speak more freely, often giving you insights that waking life hides beneath noise. Think of the times you've woken from a dream that felt realer than real. Maybe you encountered someone you haven't seen in years, or visited a place that seemed vivid and alive, even though you've never been there. These experiences suggest that dreams are more than imagination. They're journeys into parallel states of awareness, where your consciousness roams beyond the physical body. Lucid dreaming makes this even clearer. In a lucid dream, you become aware that you're dreaming, and with that awareness comes influence. You can fly, create landscapes, or seek guidance from figures in the dream. This isn't just fantasy, it shows you that consciousness is fluid, capable of shifting environments at will. If you can bend reality in the dream world, it raises a fascinating question. To what extent can you also shape the waking one? Altered states aren't limited to sleep. Meditation, deep prayer, trance, or even the flow you feel when you're completely absorbed in art or music all access expanded consciousness. Science shows that in these states, your brain shifts into different wave patterns, alpha, theta, delta, associated with creativity, healing, and connection. These states lower the walls of the rational mind, letting you experience intuition, synchronicity, and insights that seem to come from beyond yourself. Practical steps make these realms accessible. Keeping a dream journal, for example, trains your mind to remember and recognize patterns in dreams, making it easier to notice when guidance is being offered. Simple meditation practices, like focusing on your breath or visualizing light, create openings for altered states in daily life. Even paying attention to the moments when time seems to disappear, like when you're lost in music or writing, helps you recognize the natural rhythm of expanded awareness. The value of dreams and altered states is not escape, it's integration. They remind you that reality is layered, and your waking experience is only one slice of it. By engaging with these other states, you bring back insights, creativity, and healing that enrich your daily life. So tonight, when you drift into sleep, remember, you're not shutting down. You're crossing into another dimension of consciousness. And if you approach it with curiosity, you might just discover that your dreams are not random at all. They are messages, rehearsals, and explorations of the infinite possibilities that already exist within you. Manifestation has become a buzzword, but at its core, it's not about magical thinking or pretending life is perfect. It's about understanding how thought, emotion, and energy interact with the quantum field to shape the reality you experience. The mechanics of manifestation are simple. What you focus on expands, what you feel fuels that focus, and what you consistently believe becomes the structure your life rests on. Think of your thoughts as signals. Every time you imagine something, whether it's worry about a problem or excitement about a dream, you're broadcasting a vibration. That vibration interacts with the quantum field, which responds by aligning experiences, people, and opportunities that resonate with it. It's like tuning a radio. The station you hear depends on the frequency you set. Visualization is one of the most direct tools for tuning this frequency. When you picture yourself achieving a goal with vivid detail, seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, you create a blueprint in your mind that your subconscious begins to follow. Athletes use this technique all the time, mentally rehearsing perfect performances until the body naturally executes them. The mind doesn't fully distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and physical ones, which is why visualization is so powerful. But here's the secret ingredient: emotion. Thoughts alone are weak signals. It's the emotional charge behind them that amplifies the broadcast. Gratitude, excitement, love, and joy infuse your intentions with magnetic energy. That's why simply repeating affirmations without feeling doesn't work. You're saying the words, but the signal is faint. When you feel the reality as if it's already true, you align with it more strongly, pulling it into your experience. Of course, manifestation isn't just about dreaming, it's about alignment. Doubt, desperation, or trying to control every detail can actually collapse the field, keeping possibilities from flowing. The universe responds best when you set a clear intention, fuel it with emotion, and then release it, trusting that opportunities will unfold in their own timing. This isn't passive, it's active faith combined with practical action. You show up, make choices, and walk through the doors that open. Consider everyday examples. Someone who constantly says, "I'm unlucky," will unconsciously ignore opportunities and gravitate towards setbacks, proving themselves right. Another person who believes, "Good things always find me," moves through the world with openness, noticing opportunities others overlook. Both are manifesting, whether they realize it or not, because manifestation is not optional, it's the default state of consciousness. The real question isn't whether you're manifesting, it's what you're manifesting. And once you see that, you gain the power to shift it. You can choose to focus on lack or on abundance, on fear or on possibility. The field doesn't judge, it simply mirrors. So ask yourself, what reality are you rehearsing with your thoughts and emotions each day? Because that practice is the blueprint for the life you're about to step into. It's easy to think of yourself as a single individual, separate from everyone else. But when you zoom out, it becomes clear, your consciousness doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a larger field that connects all living beings. This is what we call collective consciousness, the shared network of awareness that binds humanity together. And when you awaken to this truth, you realize that your personal growth isn't just about you, it ripples outward, influencing the entire web of life. Science gives us hints of this interconnectedness. Studies on group meditation, for example, have shown measurable reductions in crime rates and conflict during the practice. In neuroscience, mirror neurons explain why we catch emotions from others. When someone laughs, smiles, or even cries, your brain reflects that state. Spiritually, countless traditions speak of oneness, the idea that what you do to others, you ultimately do to yourself. These aren't separate insights, they're different windows pointing to the same truth. Consciousness is shared. When you raise your own vibration through kindness, awareness, or healing, you're not just shifting your personal life, you're contributing to the collective field. That's why small acts of compassion matter so much. A single person who chooses love over fear can shift the atmosphere of a room, and enough individuals doing this at scale can shift the direction of humanity itself. Right now, we're living in a time of massive awakening. You may have noticed it already. More people questioning old systems, seeking deeper meaning, exploring meditation, energy, and spirituality. This isn't random, it's the collective field shifting, like a tide pulling everyone higher. Of course, awakening also brings turbulence. Just as your personal growth often requires facing shadows, humanity's awakening is bringing hidden issues, corruption, injustice, division, into the light. It can feel chaotic, but in truth, it's part of the cleansing process before renewal. The beauty is you don't have to change the entire world to play a role. Your contribution is your own alignment. Every time you choose peace instead of anger, empathy instead of judgment, awareness instead of distraction, you are feeding the collective consciousness with higher frequency energy. And when enough individuals do this, tipping points happen, movements begin, cultures evolve, humanity takes a leap. Think of it like a choir. One voice might feel small, but when many voices align, the resonance becomes powerful enough to fill a cathedral. In the same way, your consciousness, your choices, your healing, your vibration adds to the chorus of awakening happening now. So when you wonder, do I really matter? The answer is yes, more than you know, because the moment you shift, the field shifts. And the more of us who awaken, the closer we move toward a future where humanity lives not in separation, but in unity consciousness. By now, you've explored the ideas of synchronicity, energy, time, symbols, and the quantum field, but knowledge without practice is like a locked treasure chest. The real shift happens when you apply these principles in daily life. That's where practical activation comes in, small, consistent actions that align your consciousness with the quantum field, keeping you tuned to higher awareness and empowered living. The most foundational practice is meditation. You don't need to sit for hours in silence. Even 10 minutes of focused breathing can reset your state. Meditation quiets the mental noise so you can sense subtle signals, intuition, clarity, and inspiration that normally get drowned out. Think of it as clearing static from your inner radio so you can receive the station of higher guidance. Visualization is another powerful tool. Spend a few minutes each day picturing yourself living in alignment with your highest self. See it, feel it, and let your body experience the emotions as if it's already true. This not only plants seeds in your subconscious, but also programs your energy field to resonate with that reality. Over time, life begins to mirror the images you've been practicing internally. Journaling bridges the gap between thought and manifestation. By writing down your intentions, patterns, or insights from synchronicities, you give them form. Journaling also helps you spot cycles you might otherwise miss, reminding you that you're not stuck, you're evolving. Don't overlook the body. Breathwork, yoga, and mindful movement are ways to clear stagnant energy and keep your vibration high. Even a simple walk in nature can reset your resonance, reminding you of your connection to the greater field. The body is not separate from consciousness, it's the vessel that channels it. When you take care of your body, you take care of your energy. Energy hygiene is another underrated practice. Just as you shower daily, you can cleanse your energy field. Try simple techniques like visualizing light washing over you or intentionally releasing heavy emotions at the end of the day. This keeps you from carrying the residue of negativity into tomorrow. Finally, look at your environment and lifestyle. The content you consume, the people you surround yourself with, and even the food you eat all influence your vibration. Choose mindfully. You don't have to be perfect, but aim for environments that support growth, not drain it. The truth is, practical activation doesn't require dramatic rituals. It's about consistency. Each small practice adds up, creating momentum that shifts your reality. Over time, these habits strengthen your awareness, raise your vibration, and align you with the life you're meant to live. So start simple. Meditate, visualize, breathe, write, move. Every step you take is a signal to the universe. I am ready, I am awake, I am aligned. And when you live that way, quantum consciousness stops being a concept. It becomes your everyday reality.